Is there a legal process that can veto the elected presidential candidate before he takes office at the inauguration ceremony if something is filed by the public? In the United States, there is no legal process that allows the public to veto an elected presidential candidate before they take office at the inauguration. Once a candidate wins the Electoral College and is confirmed by Congress, they are set to take office unless they are disqualified due to specific legal reasons, such as not meeting the constitutional requirements, age, citizenship, residency, or if they are convicted of certain crimes. However, there are some mechanisms through which a candidate's eligibility can be challenged. 1. Legal challenges. Individuals or groups can file lawsuits to contest a candidate's eligibility, but these are usually resolved in court and may not impact the inauguration unless a court ruling specifically disqualifies the candidate. 2. Impeachment. If a president is already in office, Congress can initiate impeachment proceedings for misconduct, but this applies only after they have taken office. 3. Political pressure. Public opinion and political pressure can influence candidates, but it does not have the legal authority to prevent them from taking office once elected. In summary, while there are avenues for legal challenges, they are limited and do not provide a straightforward way for the public to veto a candidate before inauguration. What if the individual was convicted of crimes while in office in a previous term and tries to use his authority to convince the courts to dismiss the charges so that he can bypass these laws and regulations? If an individual who has previously served as president is convicted of crimes while in office and attempts to use their authority to influence the courts or dismiss the charges, several legal principles come into play. 1. Rule of law. In the United States, no one is above the law, including a sitting president. The legal process must be followed, and the judiciary operates independently from the executive branch. 2. Separation of powers. The judicial system is separate from the executive branch. A president cannot unilaterally dismiss charges or influence judicial proceedings. Any attempt to do so could be viewed as an abuse of power and could lead to impeachment. 3. Impeachment. If a president is convicted of a crime while in office, Congress has the authority to impeach and remove the president from office. Impeachment is a political process, and the House of Representatives can initiate it if they believe the president has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. 4. Legal appeals. If a president is convicted, they can appeal the decision in court, but they must follow the legal process. The outcome of these appeals is determined by the judiciary, not the executive branch. 5. Public accountability. Ultimately, a president is accountable to the public and the political system. If they attempt to bypass laws or regulations, they risk losing public support and facing political consequences. In summary, a former president cannot legally use their authority to dismiss criminal charges, and any actions taken to influence the judicial process could result in serious legal and political repercussions. Hello everybody, am I on cue? Where is the prompter? I see it. Okay, so hello everybody who has become a puppet in this massive dramatization fueled by the death throes of a political, fear-based hierarchy of tyrannical obsessive control freaks. So that the people might understand the legal confusion that Trump has caused and who may be responsible for this. First and foremost, Trump is not legally protected by presidential immunity in his cases. For one, that clause only applies to the president if the crimes he committed were in service of upholding his duty as the president, not his idea of what his duty should be but the duty outlined by our laws. That was the thing about Kamala Harris that would have won the approval of all Americans. It was that when she faced the truth of the limits of her authority, that her power is given to her by the people and for the people, above all other reasons, and she would have proudly served by that and stood by that. Trump on the other hand will scoff at this. He will make plans against this because he would see it as something that stood in his way. He has already proven this to be true of himself. Was it really America's choice truly to have this man as president? Second, is that the ones behind Trump and his win in the election are the corrupt senators who were involved in the January 6th revolution. The same ones who were in that video that I posted about during the pandemic where everyone was up in arms against the ones who refused to get the vaccine. Here is the kicker, and I hope you see the lesson to be learned here. Because no matter how sure you may be about something, there is always the possible factor you are not aware of that could make the difference, that could change the entire scenario of events. The COVID virus was based and developed originally from the same bacteria that causes the common cold or the flu. Everyone for decades have been getting their flu vaccination, and they warned us that a superflu was going to soon develop. A strain that was resistant to the vaccination, a mutation of the influenza, and that was the source from which COVID-19 originally developed from. The common cold and the flu are both variants of the COVID virus that has been present on Earth for at least 3.8 billion years and has mutated into 19 different variant strains since then. However, in this recent mutation cycle, other developments were underway before it emerged as COVID-19. There were many factors involved in the mutation of this virus, but that is irrelevant. The point is that these slimy, worthless wastes of carbon life that claim themselves to be so high in society and culturally sophisticated are the ones pressing Trump to win the election, because they don't want to let go of their habitual lifestyle that has made America the detestable monster they have become to others. Honestly, I wish there were some real Americans out there who had the guts to stand up, who have read the Constitution and are clear on what their rights are as the people are, and drive these zealots out of this country, as our responsibility as Americans citizens require us to do by the Declaration of Independence states. Our founding fathers who built this country gave to us those rights to make a stand, to be empowered and overthrow this government if it ever became something that dictated what we can and cannot say or be or believe in. Their power should never be considered higher than the people's. Yet this country is filled with weak-willed people who won't stand up for themselves, who won't fight for themselves or their country because they make believe that it isn't as bad as it obviously is. Luckily, it has reached the point where that doesn't matter anymore. If America will not make the stand and do what is their duty as Americans calls for them to do, then, well, it's obvious that there are others out there that are sick and tired of the Black's Bag American operations, that is, destroying their traditions and lives around the world. Things our government don't want us to know about them doing. The riots last year in Europe were basically because they were sick of the American political intrusion of democracy telling them how to live their lives in their own lands. And if you don't make a change and stop your government from continuing the way they have been acting, if you do not stand up and drive this corruption from our lands, as is our responsibility as Americans for us to do, then they will come and do it for us. That is my message from them to you, America. As you know, I've been focused on the affairs of Europe lately, and in my encounters to uncover the source of the problem I was given a message of warning from many European groups to give to you, and that was the gist of it. Make the effort to change the evil that controls your lands, or they will come and do it for you. When he organized the Storm Area 51 raid, our motto was, "Show us them aliens," because we had come to believe that Area 51 was just a front created by corrupt government and political figures that essentially embezzled money from the taxpayers through government funding by the Senate committee that was the focus of the entire scenario that day. So Trump's crime is outlined in this original purpose. He knowingly used his position as president and deceived the people into believing that he was the one who was rising up against this corruption that I had outlined as the source of the embezzlement. However, another reason behind that event was because the people were tired of their totalitarian regime of the government operating without the people's knowledge, creating black bag operations in foreign territory and against other countries for what they justified with reasons and evidence they had gathered which could have been made up by anyone and not legitimate. The people were tired of the government abusing their position of power and authority. So they acted exactly by the rights reserved to them by our laws. The government has become a tyrannical regime over the people, so they rose up to free themselves of the corruption that plagues us. Trump and his re-election was their response to that. He is in office because those political figures who have stepped into the reins of corrupt power wanted to say to us, "Fuck you." America, unfortunately, either don't want to or are being withheld from rising up to stop them from continuing their positions of power. However, this isn't about them, it's about Trump using his position as president to stop America from exercising their right outlined in the Declaration of Independence. This is a direct violation of his presidential position and so thus, should not be given presidential immunity in his cases. As I said, during the January 6th revolution, Trump is not the problem, he's just a tool. The ones responsible behind him. The corruption that plagues our country has been revealed during his campaign and by their support of Ms. Harris, who they had no intention of allowing to become president. They just wanted someone to rival him while they eliminated all the other candidates. The ones you all saw involved in this during the campaign were just decoys because they expected me to make this statement. Those involved were just to make me sound like a fool when they proved my claims to be wrong with whatever evidence they had. The real parties involved behind this were in no way connected to any of this and simply passed along the instructions for their decoys to follow. And one last thing. Mr. Trump, you are not the Antichrist. I know this because you can't be. You're too early. The Antichrist will come and rise to power after this term is over. He will not be a world leader of any nation. He will rise as the leader of a movement that seeks to overthrow the world leaders. It is because of this rising group that he leads that will be why he will not hide who he is and openly proclaim himself to be the Antichrist. The Blessed Mother Mary revealed where this group shall rise from, beginning in the small region near the Ukraine or possibly Crimea. Her specific warning was that he would rise from the southern regions of Russia, a rogue military faction. A power fist in need of leadership. I wonder who that will be, who would be that much of a sucker to strive for such a position, to be the scapegoat that covers their ass, diverting their attention from what's really happening by becoming a source of aggravation to